खास बात।
वाओ मम्मा, क्या स्वाद है।
अरे मेरे राजा,
सबका राजा आर्थिक मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप।
When we look out at the world, Samir, we look for partners. We don't look for preachers. Engaging America has become more complicated. You all know why. Having a neighbor that is an epicenter of global terrorism.
India in 2025 saw many international diplomatic moments of India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, who literally turned international politics and the diplomacy that comes with it into an art of savage roasts, from jeering comments on Pakistan.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and welcome. You're watching the Monday edition of 6 Stories at 6 with me, Oyana Mitra. Over the next half an hour, I'll take you through those 6 stories that have dominated the headlines today. So here we go. Up first, a story that your channel, Republic TV, has closely tracked over the years. The Supreme Court today has rejected the bail plea of terrorists Umar Khalid and Sharjeel Imam. What is it that the top court has observed in the Delhi riots conspiracy case? We'll tell you all about that. Second, deposed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is set to make his first court appearance in New York City. He's charged with narco-terrorism. What lies next for him? Third, the SRKKR controversy that is now snowballing. Viewers, we will explain why is it that a rattled Bangladesh has ordered the complete suspension of IPL streaming in the country. Next, 3 case studies from 3 different cities shed light on gross mismanagement by the authorities providing something as basic as clean drinking water. It started with Indore, it has spilled over to other cities. What is happening? We'll tell you. Then we take you to Chhattisgarh, where Maoists have struck in the Red Corridor region of Bijapur with an IED blast now being reported. Those details coming up on the show. And finally, a look at what's happening in Manipur, which is on edge to the latest face-off between Kuki and Meitei groups. Let's get started. And on to our first story of the day, viewers. The Supreme Court today refused to grant bail to terrorists Umar Khalid and Sharjeel Imam in a case registered under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, that is UAPA, related to the larger conspiracy behind the February 2020 Delhi riots, national capital. Though bail was granted to 5 other co-accused, the Supreme Court has made some very strong observations while denying bail to Umar Khalid and to Sharjeel Imam. Republic TV, your channel, has tracked this story since 2020. We'll get you everything that the court has said and some exclusive visuals that are coming up for you in this next report.
हम हिंदुस्तान और नॉर्थ ईस्ट को परमानेंटली कट कर सकते हैं।
The Supreme Court today pronounced a verdict on the bail plea of the Delhi riots accused, which claimed the lives of 53 people. While 5 among the 7 accused received bail, but the main perpetrators and conspirators of the Delhi riots were denied bail. Here's what the court said while denying bail to the Umar Khalid and Sharjeel Imam. It's the biggest setback that the Tukde gang could have ever imagined. Hari Solanki, father of Raju Solanki, one of the 53 victims of the Delhi riots, had earlier demanded nothing less than a capital punishment for all the accused in the case. Listen to what he had said before the verdict.
All right, viewers, we had to cut out of that because we are getting live pictures that are now coming in from New York. On your screens are the visuals of Venezuelan deposed President Nicolas Maduro, who is now set to make his first court appearance in New York after being charged with narco-terrorism. Well, there you can see the visuals of a police convoy that has been escorting the deposed president to the New York court. Heavy security over there. In fact, earlier, just a short while back, we got you the first pictures of the convoy that was headed from the Brooklyn jail, from where he was being held, to the courtroom. And just a short while from now, we're expected to get more developments on what is exactly set to happen inside the courtroom. A motorcade carrying ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro was seen leaving the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. In fact, as we speak, these are the latest pictures that are coming in very close to the courtroom in Brooklyn in New York, where he is set to make his first appearance. Follows his capture by the US military in a strike on Saturday, now set to appear facing narco-terrorism charges. I'll hand it over to our chief consulting editor, Saurabh Shukla, who joins us on the phone line with more details about these latest developments, Saurabh, that are coming in from New York.
Thank you. As we know that Nicolas Maduro faces serious charges here in the U.S., this is the first court appearance that he has, and I want to tell our viewers that essentially what really happens, that this is the first step of a long-drawn process that's expected to take place here in the U.S. courts. As you know, that the U.S. judiciary is very, very, independent, and that's the reason why the prosecutors want to make sure that there is a watertight case against him, and that's the reason why, even when this raid happened, there were agents of Department of Justice, which is managing this case. They were embedded during this entire process as well when he was captured and brought here to the U.S. And he will be presented before a district judge here who will then, it will be a short hearing, who will then just decide in the first place whether he can be tried here in the U.S. and if proper procedures were followed when he was, obviously detained because he had a long pending, he was on the U.S. most wanted list and also had a $50 million bounty on his head, which had happened from the first Trump administration, was continued by President Biden, and now President Donald Trump made sure that it was executed and Nicolas Maduro was brought back to the U.S. to face justice. So that's essentially going to happen. It's a very high-value case, so to say. A lot of attention, media is already there in the U.S., covering this. That's the reason why the security has been built up. They don't want to take any chances, both in Manhattan, where he will appear, and also in other critical parts, including Washington, D.C. The security has been beefed up just in case there are any trouble which is created. So that's the situation as it exists. As I mentioned earlier, that this will be a short hearing, and this is essentially procedural hearing just to make sure that everything against him that has been done and that they follow the due course of law in following the protocol, the judicial protocol, because the courts here take this very, very seriously, and that's what is essentially going to happen when he's brought before a court today.
Right. Saurabh, I request you to stay on with us as we keep track of those live visuals that are now coming in from New York viewers over there, the convoy that is carrying the deposed president to the courtroom. Saurabh, if you can take our viewers through the legal options that now lie in front of the former president, and if at all there is any way out from the charges that he now faces in the United States.
I can tell you that obviously the more substantive details will come out, but sources I've been speaking to here in Washington, D.C. and even in Manhattan who are handling this case, they are saying that clearly this is not only a high-profile case, but the case which impacts the whole issue of narco-terrorism in the manner in which the Maduro regime was funneling drugs, his cocaine trade. They have the financial links. Also, there have been intercepts that they have. All that will be presented in the due course. Certainly, what will happen now is like a curtain raiser, if you may say, of this entire case. They want to make sure that they have a watertight case. That's the reason why the charges that he's facing are very serious. And certainly, this judge will determine. It's a first step in a long-drawn judicial process. Let me say it. Mr. Maduro obviously will get his lawyers to fight this case as well. And there will be arguments, counter-arguments, but certainly this case is such that the U.S. will make sure that it presents all the evidence so that this case faces scrutiny and stands the test of trial here in the U.S. So that's the whole situation, and I want to just again recap what really happened. So this is arraignment is actually, as it is referred to in the U.S., is the first step when you have to start a judicial trial where the judge will ensure it is going to be a clean hearing, that this case is fit enough to be tried here in the U.S. courts, and the U.S. courts have a jurisdiction over this case. So it essentially is determining the jurisdiction of this case, and certainly that is the way the Department of Justice here in the U.S. has presented the charges. Obviously, you will get the details once there is a briefing post this the appearance that Mr. Maduro has. But we do expect that the judge is going to grant the request of the Department of Justice to try this case here in the U.S. And then they will determine the next date, as it is done in any legal process, to proceed this trial. But this trial is going to take some time, and obviously Mr. Maduro will be in the custody in a high security prison here in the U.S. to face the trial.
Right. And Saurabh, speaking about the situation as it stands in Venezuela at the moment, we do understand the U.S. has said that America has essentially taken over, the country. And even though it is kind of hinted that it might not govern the country on a day-to-day basis, the situation as it stands right now does seem a little fluid, if I may use that word. How do you see that playing out?
Yeah. So, I want to give a whole perspective to our viewers what really happened. Venezuela was under sanctions, and obviously Mr. Maduro was a wanted man. It was pretty apparent in the manner in which, the U.S. President Donald Trump had made it very clear that sooner or later they will bring him to justice. So it was clearly a writing on the wall. What he was banking on was a tacit Chinese support. There was a Chinese delegation, if you would have seen the visuals, sent by President Xi, which was visiting the former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on the same night where the U.S. operation took place. So clearly, sources here in the security agencies are telling me that not only was he being brazen and making sure that he was taking on the U.S. authorities, he also was banking on the Chinese support there in Venezuela. And obviously, the bulk of the Venezuelan oil was going to China. And post, Maduro, regime, they had to make sure that Venezuela does not fall into the hands of the Chinese or the Russians. That's the reason why there was a need to stabilize it. And the current vice president, who is now acting president, has now taken over the reins of Venezuela. And obviously the U.S. side is making sure that the Venezuelan, government is run properly, and it does not have a chaos, because obviously not only does it have economic repercussions, the fact that Venezuela has the highest global oil reserves makes it also important for the economic stability for the world. So I think what is happening now is to make sure that there is a stable regime which is there, which governs Venezuela, and it does not get into the hands of a rival country, so to say. That was the whole idea behind which, post this operation, that the U.S. side is helping the current Venezuelan regime to make sure that there is a law and order which is kept. And obviously, the strategic oil reserve that Venezuela has is not diverted to, obviously countries like China and Russia, which may gain out of this, and especially when a chaotic situation happens.
Saurabh, you mentioned about governance in Venezuela, and that's exactly what I was coming to next. Prolonged effect of a trial in the US, as Trump has pointed out that it is time for Maduro to face American system of justice. The effect on this is likely to have far-reaching consequences as far as the governance in Venezuela and the political landscape, the future of politics in Venezuela is concerned. At some point, do you see the Trump administration or the US authorities coming to the negotiating table as far as this entire situation is concerned?
See, that boat has already crossed now. Sources are telling me that Nicolas Maduro was also, was given some options. There are reports coming out, although they're not confirmed reports, but the fact remains that he did speak to President Trump. Obviously, he was adamant because the U.S. system, the administration here, did want him to face justice and surrender because of the charges that he was facing. He did not do so. And clearly, there is, if you see, on the contrary of what people were expecting, there is a groundswell of support in Venezuela and also people of Venezuelan origin. In fact, if you see, I've been talking to some people here as well in the U.S., and they're happy that Nicolas Maduro has been brought to justice, because there are, besides the narco-terrorism factories that he was running, he was also doing a lot of excesses at the cost of the Venezuelan people. In fact, there are now reports which are coming out, and obviously more stories will come out, of the fact that he was leading a lavish life in Venezuela, and his cronies were leading a lavish life at the cost, when the country was a bulk of the nation which had so much of oil reserves, so much of gold reserves, was under abject poverty. So certainly, many people believe that an alternative administration, which happens in Venezuela, and obviously now you have an acting president in place, will make sure that the people of Venezuela, and President Trump also said in so many words that once this whole oil exploration happens in Venezuela, it will also be benefiting the Venezuelan people as well, because obviously prosperity in that country was earlier being cornered by leaders like Nicolas Maduro and his partners in China and elsewhere. And now obviously bulk of this will also accrue to Venezuelan people. We obviously have to wait and watch what is going to happen. But for now, the situation is that at least you have a semblance of authority there, and there is Nicolas Maduro, who will face a proper judicial trial for the crimes that he's committed.
Right. Saurabh, I request you to continue to be with us as we keep a track of those live visuals that are coming in from New York viewers. In fact, as I speak in my conversation with Chief Consulting Editor, let us tell you that at this point, Maduro and his wife have entered the courtroom in New York for arraignment in what is their first appearance at the court since being captured over the weekend. Saurabh, I'd like to come back to you on that note. Let's speak about the potential role, if at all any, that the United Nations might, play out in this entire situation, because one of the first responses that came in from the Venezuelan government post-Maduro's capture was them urging the United Nations to intervene and convene an emergency Security Council meeting.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because, today the UN Security Council is supposed to have a emergency meeting. That's what I was told. Obviously, China and Russia, who are permanent members, they're going to obviously take this up, because they were benefiting. They were strategic beneficiaries of Maduro's oil largest, because in order to circumvent the sanctions that the U.S. had, he was trying to sell the oil to China largely. And obviously, they have been impacted deeply by this. Do you know that on the same night when Nicolas Maduro was captured, one of the highest high-profile visitors to him was the Chinese delegation, which was actually led by a special envoy of the Chinese President Xi. So clearly, they were negotiating some oil contracts and other things as well. And certainly, China is very unhappy. They issued a very strong statement as well, and they will try to raise this in the UN Security Council. But as you know, that the U.S. has a veto power there, so it's unlikely that UN will get involved other than some lip service. And I also want to say that we are sitting in 2026, where you've seen in the past as well that UN's role has largely been advisory. It has not been as effective as the world expected it to be. And obviously, nations largely, whether it was when it comes to India defending its own national interest during Operation Indore, or any other country doing it, they make sure that they do it on their own terms, because obviously by the time the UN reacts, it's a long-drawn process, and that's the reason why a lot of conflicts are getting solved, and situations like these are getting solved out of the UN system.
Right. All right, Saurabh, thank you very much for joining us and giving us your perspective on this story that we're tracking very, very closely. Viewers, we have to slip into a very short break, but do stay on with us. 6:30 p.m., colleague Abhishek Kapoor getting you more details on what is the next course of action for the deposed president. Stay with us.
आधे बाउल दही में 4 चम्मच MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला डाला, स्टर करो, पुदीना चटनी तैयार। MDH चटनी पुदीना मसाला।
QS&THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो, मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला।
सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जीरा सिप MDH का जीरा सिप।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
5, 4, 3. S200 motors.
Plus 20 seconds.
Lift off normal.
L40 stages are ignited. Plus 5 seconds. Plus 20 seconds. First stage performance normal. L40 stages thrust cutoff. Plus 5 seconds.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
These are not media trials. These are strong campaign-based issues. Journalism which has brought the truth out. The only thing that sustains is public interest. Public interest is national interest. What happens when AI comes in a big way? How many jobs does it create? And how many jobs does it take away?
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा।
When we look out at the world, Samir, we look for partners. We don't look for preachers. Engaging America has become more complicated. You all know why. Having a neighbor that is an epicenter of global terrorism.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता, उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
QS&THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
MDH 5 4 3
S200 motors.
plus 20 seconds.
Lift off normal.
L40 stages are ignited. Plus 5 seconds. Plus 20 seconds. First stage performance normal. L40 stages thrust cutoff. Plus 5 seconds.
Auto tracking.
PT drive tracking.
PSLV 661 का सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन पतन प्रमोचन मंच से अपने उद्दिष्ट कक्षा की ओर अपना सफर जारी कर चुका है।
Performance normal.
There's a magnificent
2 1 0.
All L40 engines generating nominal thrust. S139 motor ignited. First stage performance normal.
One, 0.
S200 motors ignited.
Plus 5 seconds.
P1 tracking. S200 motors separated.
Two, 1, 0.
U.S. Vice President residence attacked. J.D. Vance's Ohio residence attacked. One suspect arrested. Deposed Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife appear in a New York court on narco-terrorism charges. Tukre gang key conspirators will continue to stay in jail. Supreme Court rejects bail for Sharjeel Imam and Umar Khalid. The top court makes strong observations, rules that Imam and Khalid are on a different footing than other accused. The government's courtroom warrior, a lawyer who led the case in the Delhi High Court and the Supreme Court, S.V. Raju, speaks to Republic. The former ASG speaks about how Tukre gang orchestrated the Delhi riots, says gang wanted regime change. The victim families question bail to 5 other accused, demand Umar Khalid and Sharjeel should be hanged. All right, friends, so let's cut straight to pictures coming in from New York, where a motorcade carrying ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has just arrived at the left the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn a while back and has arrived at the South District New York Court. And that's where the proceedings are going to go on, and this follows his capture, of course, 2 days back by US military in a raid which was called Operation Absolute Resolve. And he's facing drug charges, weapon charges and whatnot. A sitting president of a sovereign nation captured by the United States in a raid, essentially because the United States believes that Western Hemisphere is its sphere of influence and things should happen or not happen depending on what the United States wants. And Maduro, of course, was not playing ball. Let's cut to these pictures. These are pictures from the South District of New York in Manhattan, and the court is there where the Venezuelan former US president faces charges of narco-terrorism and weapons conspiracy, among others. Purnima Nath joins us live from United States on this. Analyst who joins us on India-United States debates, this time on what's happening in the US. Very good evening from here, Ms. Nath. Very good morning there. Must be very early morning. We have seen some muted opposition voices on Maduro capture from the United States. But overall, you think, as we see it from outside, that this has given a fillip to the mega constituency of President Trump?
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Namaste, Jai Hind. First of all, I think what President Trump did in this particular case has set a dangerous precedent for the other world leaders as well. But there are a few messages over here. First of all, one is if you don't have nuclear power, you're probably not going to be respected by America. Secondly, America is literally continuing the colonial propaganda and imperialism and imposing what America wants in the global stage. Today it's Latin America, but I think it's not just Latin America, it's literally the entire world. So this is going to scare most of the world leader who has a little ounce of dignity, that this is their sovereign land, this is their political agenda, whatever their agenda is. It is a hypocrisy that we're witnessing today, that America decides who lives or who dies, who stays in the power, who gets ousted. And we have seen this again and again and again. This didn't start today. Obviously, we're seeing it in a very overt manner. But if one of the first coups by America is 1893, the reason Hawaii is part of America is because America actually executed a coup against Queen Liliuokalani. She was ousted, and America now has Hawaii. Similarly, fast forward 1903, we have seen in Panama. 1953, we have seen Operation Ajax in Iran. 1954, we have seen in Guatemala. 1961, Cuba. 1964, Brazil. 1973, Chile. So this is happening again and again and again, constantly because of what America wants. 100 years ago, when Teddy Roosevelt literally said, America, it's time for America to determine or actually civilize the world. This was the same language that colonial powers used. The colonial powers also came to India and decided they had to civilize Hindu people of India. So this is no different. And today it seems like it's South America, but it is not. It is the entire world. And this is a dangerous situation for any country, any civilization like India as well, who is actually peace-oriented. You guys have to speak up, and it's not going to stop.
It's interesting. I mean, my question was about the fillip that Trump gets from within the mega constituency, Ms. Nath. And you are suggesting that the world is uncomfortable at this development. Frankly speaking, does President Trump really care about what the world thinks, so long as he gets to, control the narrative, as it seems, and that seems to be happening?
Absolutely, every single day. I have not seen one day pass by without a headline, which hasn't had a Trump name. He wants to stay in the news cycle. He controls the news cycle. Literally, there are news portal in America who's actually claiming, and also rightfully so, that Trump dominated the global news cycle. Unfortunately, whether it's looking like a chaotic situation for different countries, whether it's through economic warfare or not, whether it's tariff or not, this is continuing from a military flexing. It is continuing from a imposition of what America wants. They can literally decide which, like for instance, one Orlando Hernandez, the former Honduran president who was actually convicted for smuggling in 400 tons of drugs, were pardoned by President Trump. So the hypocrisy is glaring here. You are saying you actually targeted Venezuela for narco-terrorism, but you actually, on the other hand, pardoned and freed the person who was actually convicted in America. So America decides who lives and who dies. America is the judge, America is the jury, America is the executioner. What law are they actually following? Is it international law? If there's any leader, they decide that leader has to go. He will be ousted. He will be thrown out. He will be replaced. So is it fair for anybody else? So MAGA constituents of President Trump thinks this is the good thing for America. And if one phrase you will hear particularly from Republican parties, peace through strength. They want to flex their muscles. They want to show that America is supreme. And they want to show that by doing what they're doing today makes sense for them. And this is exactly what is making sure that America has the power in the global landscape.
It's
so
interesting. It's
Hmm.
interesting that you say this while being there in the United States, Ms. Nath. Can we take this as some kind of indication that howsoever muted, there are voices of opposition and dissent within the US establishment? I'm not talking about the Democrats, but within the Republicans, there might be some who are really uncomfortable at the swing of events over the last 48 hours?
It's not from now. I think we have seen this kind of uncomfort zone for quite some time now. Even in the Epstein file, if you remember, just a few weeks ago, we have seen Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, and a staunch supporter and campaigner of President Trump and Republican Party and promoter of conservatism and basically anti-war agenda that he promised us. And today, within a year of first year, he literally bombed 8 countries. This is not settling well for some of his supporters, including myself. And there is dissent, but those dissents are coming with repercussion as well. She had to resign. The agenda, the attack on her, and similarly attack on me as well. They're telling me I'm not Republican. Basically, if you don't support President Trump or his agenda, whatever he is doing, you're not Republican. Or you are actually not, the worst is you are not American enough. They're telling me to go back, but they're not telling Marjorie Taylor Greene to go back. Where she should go back. So she's not American either. So I'm getting an extra layer of target. People like me are getting extra layer of target because of our ethnicity, our religion, that we haven't converted to Christianity. So you have to understand that the narrative has gone down to that level that any kind of dissent towards President Trump is viewed as anti-American stance. And this is a dangerous precedent, the dangerous scenario we are actually experiencing. I'm speaking honestly here, but I'm also getting the heat. I'm also feeling the heat.
I much appreciate that, Purnima Nath. I remember, in fact, just a year back, the enthusiastic conversations we would have with the Indian diaspora, including you from the United States, about the potential that the second Trump presidency held. But it seems like a very different picture and scenario emerging, and in a way you endorsing it. Thank you so much for joining us with that perspective. We are continuing with the story. Venezuelan President Maduro captured by the US forces in that dramatic operation called Absolute Resolve, now faces serious charges in the United States. But on the ground, back in Caracas and other parts of Venezuela, there is an eerie calm. There are some protests, but then very muted. What's with the government of President Delcy now? Take a look.
An operation that stunned the world. The United States captured the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro, dramatically altering the balance of power in Latin America. US forces stormed key locations including Maduro's Caracas safe house, took him and his wife into custody and flew them out to New York. Washington called it a law enforcement action. Critics call it a full-blown act of aggression. But back in Venezuela, panic grips the streets. Power cuts, shutter markets, and anxious crowds.
The situation here, it's like a holiday, a holiday or vacations day, because the people we don't have we don't have too much movement in the vehicles. This highway unit to two principal cities here in Zulia State, Maracaibo and San Francisco City.
As uncertainty simmers in Venezuela, interim President Delcy Rodriguez has taken the place of her ally President Nicolas Maduro. Maduro now faces serious charges in the US, including drug trafficking and narco-terror links. Maduro today will appear in New York City courtroom. As Maduro prepares to face US courts, Venezuela stays into uncertainty.
Today's, remember the government of US, Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, announced Venezuela was the government of US take the administration of the country of Venezuela. That make so many reactions in all the world. Of course, in Venezuela we have reactions. So many people and with sympathy with the government of Maduro make activities and meetings in some areas of Caracas.
A president captured, a nation destabilized.
Strong message by the Supreme Court of India. If you have committed a crime, and that too one as serious as terrorism, you cannot be hiding behind Constitution. The Supreme Court today denied bail to Sharjeel Imam and Umar Khalid, the masterminds or key conspirators of the Delhi riots of 2020. Here are the details.
हम हिंदुस्तान और नॉर्थ ईस्ट को परमानेंटली कट कर सकते हैं।
The Supreme Court today pronounced a verdict on the bail plea of the Delhi riots accused, which claimed the lives of 53 people. While 5 among the 7 accused received bail, but the main perpetrators and conspirators of the Delhi riots were denied bail. Here's what the court said while denying bail to the Umar Khalid and Sharjeel Imam. It's the biggest setback that the Tukde gang could have ever imagined. Hari Solanki, father of Raju Solanki, one of the 53 victims of the Delhi riots, had earlier demanded nothing less than a capital punishment for all the accused in the case. Listen to what he had said before the verdict.
सर, हम तो ये अनुरोध करना चाहेंगे माननीय सुप्रीम कोर्ट से कि हम लोगों के जवान बेटे इन लोगों ने दंगे में ख़त्म कर दिए। अगर इन लोगों को जमानत दी जाती है तो हम सभी पीड़ितों को फांसी देने का काम सुप्रीम कोर्ट द्वारा किया जा रहा है। अनुरोध करना चाहेंगे इनको किसी भी हालत में बेल नहीं देना चाहिए। इनको कम से कम सज़ा दी जाए तो फांसी से कम इनकी सज़ा नहीं होनी चाहिए।
Though happy that Sharjeel and Umar Khalid didn't receive bail, here's how he reacted after the verdict.
सरकार से और सुप्रीम कोर्ट से हम यही अपील करना चाहेंगे कि इनको बेल किसी भी हालत में न दें। अगर इनको बेल दी जाती है तो हम सभी को फांसी दी जा रही है।
Here's how the families of other victims responded.
उसको कौन होगा जिसके परिवार से कोई चला जाए, तो ऐसे उन हत्यारों को जमानत मिल जाएगी तो कोई भी खुश नहीं होगा। उसमें दंगे में 50-60 लोगों की जान गई थी, तो उनको तो कम से कम उम्र कैद तो ना हो तो उम्र कैद तो हो, लेकिन उम्र कैद होगी तो कोई ना कोई ऐसे ही बेल करने की, जैसे कि बोलता है कोई कहता है कि तो बेल वगैरह ना होकर के सीधी फांसी हो तो ज़्यादा बेटर है।
All right, this Tukre gang story is the top trend across the country tonight, and we are not leaving it. Taking a short break and continuing with more on the Tukre gang staying in jail.
5, 4, 3.
S200 motors.
ये है सीक्रेट रेसिपी MDH का जीरा सिप जल जीरा मसाला। सिप सिप जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप MDH का जल जीरा सिप। मेरी चिमनी टूट जाएगी। What are you doing?
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा,
सबका राजा आरती और मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
MDH की देगी मिर्च,
देगी मिर्च का तड़का, अंग अंग फड़का।
MDH की देगी मिर्च।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
When we look out at the world, Samir, we look for partners. We don't look for preachers. Engaging America has become more complicated. You all know why. Huh? Having a neighbor that is an epicenter of global terrorism.
India in 2025 saw many international diplomatic moments of India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, who literally turned international